Hi, I'm Reg Goslin from Improving Performance Personal Coaching, and thank you for joining me for this particular webinar, which is entitled How I Harness the Power of Positivity. I do a lot of talks at the networking events and coaching events that I go to, that I attend. And because I'm often asked, Reg, how are you always so positive? How comes you're always in such a happy state of mind? Well, I think a lot of it is mindset, and I do have a natural disposition to being positive anyway. So I think, with the natural disposition and a bit of mindset work and effort, then I can try to remain as positive as I can. And that's one of the reasons that I am doing this particular workshop this evening. Sometimes you'll see a lot of, on social media, you'll see a lot of people posting motivational quotes or aspirational quotes or affirmation quotes. All of those things, they're good things. I do them myself sometimes, but when I do them, I try to wrap them up in a story to provide context, because it really isn't as simple as just reading a piece of text and then you're going to be positive every day. It doesn't work that way. So what I'd like to do at the moment is to take you through what I use at the networking events, which means me showing you my desktop again, because a lot of people don't just want to stare at somebody talking to them. Some people like to see some visual stuff because that's how they take in information. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close the video and just share my desktop. So bear with me just a second, because it's a technology thing that I have to do here. So I'll stop the video and I'm going to share my desktop. How's that? Oh, look at that. It works. Perfect. Okay. 2nd of December today, obviously, and this is the Improving Performance Personal Coaching workshop, and it's entitled How I Harness the Power of Positivity. The brain in itself, is a very, very very complex muscle, And what it is, it's mostly in the mind. It's a mindset being positive, you see. And because the brain is a complex muscle, and understanding how your mind works, it's really a step forward to helping you to manage yourself, helping you to manage your emotions and your thoughts. Okay, it's helping you to understand others. So trained intervention specialists such as myself go on a journey, and we take our clients on the same journey of discovery and development. So I want you to imagine that journey is through the psychological universe, okay? Imagine that journey is through the psychological universe, and that there are 7 planets in that universe, okay? Okay, so I've just told you where we are. We've got the inner mind, which is understanding yourself, okay? The second one is understanding others. The 3rd planet will be communication and how you communicate effectively with others. The 4th planet is the world in which you living in your specific world. Then you've got maintaining your health and managing your health, and that's your physical health and your mental health. And that's a very, very topical subject today. Then you've got being successful, which is quite a subjective matter. What one person thinks is subjective is something totally different to somebody else. So being successful is one of the planets, and then being happy. So to begin that journey across the universe, the psychological universe, what we need to do is to have a basic understanding of what's inside of our head and how it works. So coincidentally, there are 7 parts to the brain as well here. So you've got 7 planets in the universe, and you've got 7 parts to the brain that we can call the individual brains. So you've got the frontal lobe, you've got the temporal lobe, you've got the parietal lobe, you've got the limbic node lobe, you've got the occipital lobe, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. So let's imagine that 4 of those form the other 3. So we're only going to talk about 3 today, and the 3 of them combine to form the psychological mind. Okay, 3 of them combine to form the psychological mind. Now they are the frontal lobe, which is the human. It is you. It is the personality, you as an individual. You've got the limbic lobe, which is your emotional being, and we also call that your chimp. And I'll tell you about that in just a second. The chimp. And you've got the parietal lobe, which is your logical part of your brain, the computer. It does all of the logical stuff. Okay, so I took these images from a book that I was reading called The Psychological Mind, The Mind Management, The Chimp Paradox. And some of you will have read that. And I've taken the images from there because it's a very, very simple way of conveying how the mind works. Remember, we're doing this so that you can understand why sometimes you're not feeling very, very positive, okay? So the limbic node thinks, the chimp, if you like it, the limbic node thinks very, very independently from us, and it makes decisions. It makes emotional thoughts that can be very, very constructive or very, very destructive. What it can be is your best friend, or in sometimes your worst enemy, and even then sometimes it does both of those things at the same time. The frontal lobe, the human, the thing that makes you you, is connected to the limbic. But what it did is it found that they weren't always in agreement with other things. So either of them could run your life for you, but they try to work together. And that is where the actual problem starts. They have independent personalities with different agendas. So effectively, there are two beings in your head, but only one of them is you, the frontal or the human. This is the one that is you. And the parietal, the computer, if you like, stores the info that the chimp or the human has put into it. So all of the information that you're getting, whether it's auditorily, whether it's visually, whether it's a sense, it all comes into here and it stores the information. And it then uses this information to act for them automatically or as a point of reference. Now, any one of the three of these can take control, okay? But they usually try to work together, and they do have different ways of thinking. Okay, so one of the things that I just want to give you an example of how this actually works is a story about John and his partner. And John and his partner. John is the human, if you like, and Pauline is the partner. So John is telling his wife or his partner, Pauline, that the man next door had blocked his car in by parking across the driveway, and he had to go and tell the man to move the car. So John, or the human, is telling the story in a real matter-of-fact way, and his inner chimp is listening very, very calmly. Pauline then answers by saying, I don't know why you're making such a deal of it. It got sorted, didn't it? So now John and his chimp have both heard the response, but are very different interpretations and reactions to Pauline's comment. The human in John, being reasonable, may think, I wasn't really making a deal of it, but clearly Pauline doesn't want to hear it, so I'll just let it go. Or it would say something like, it did get sorted, so she's probably got a point and I just need to move on and not react. So the human has remained calm and has already moved on without really having a problem with it. But the chimp in John, the chimp may react in a very, very different way. The chimp's taken the remark personally and has become agitated. It's got very vexed about it. And it may interpret the comment as a direct criticism. And so the chimp will go into defense or attack mode. It's likely to raise its voice and say something like, why do you never support me? Or it will say something like, I'm not making a deal of it. What's your problem? Or I only made a comment that I thought you, as my wife or my partner, might be interested in. So you can imagine how the conversation would go downhill from this point. And if we had stopped the scenario after Pauline gave her remark and asked John, how would he like to respond? Then it's very, very likely that he would have chosen to be the human and just let it go. However, as the chimp within us is far more powerful than the human, it's more likely that the chimp will speak before the human gets a chance to take control. And this will end up leaving John wondering why he didn't just let go of the remark in the first place. So what happens then is you have internal negative chatter. So how many times do you have a debate with yourself in your head about a specific situation? You see, we do it all the time, but we just didn't give it a name. So all the time that this is happening, the parietal is sitting there thinking, really? Come on, guys. Because it only deals with logic. It doesn't deal with the emotion stuff. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's all done to protect you. You got to remember, everything is designed to protect you. It's thrive and survive. That's the instinct the human being has. So you have to recognize it and talk back to it and take action. So if you have internal negative chatter, understand it, recognize it, talk back to it, and take some action. I just want to show you an example of something that I got when I went through my training through the coaching academy, and it was called ANTS, and it's internal negative chatter, internal negative thoughts. And the acronym means automatic negative thoughts. And there are so many of them. I just want to run through about 5 or 6 of them at the moment. Okay, now automatic negative thoughts pop into our heads, and they're often overwhelmingly pessimistic. Okay, the first one is an all or nothing ant, and they use words like nothing, no one, everyone, all the time, every time. You know, so for example, that thought might be, no one takes me seriously. No one ever takes me seriously. What you ought to do, if that ever comes into your head, is challenge this thinking and ask, is this really true? The second one, for instance, is the focus on the negative. It finds no good in any situation. It says things like, I lost 12 pounds, but I wanted to lose a stone, so I failed. So all you need to do really in that situation, and it does take practice, is to reframe the situation and say something like, I've achieved a fantastic milestone, only 2 pounds to go. So it's the same situation, you're just thinking about it differently. Guilt beating is another one, and it does what it says on the tin. Guilt is the main motivator on this one, and words like should, could, must, have to, ought to, those are the kind of words that are used. And I promise you, if you start any activity using words like should or could or ought to, if you're starting any activity with those words, then you're not likely to achieve it. You've got the labeling ant, which is where you label yourself and others. Labeling yourself and others limits your ability to see yourself or others as a situation clearly. So labeling yourself as things like lazy or untalented, it actually stops you from seeing yourself or your own behaviors in a clear way. You've got the fortune telling ant, which predicts the worst outcomes that you could imagine. So you know those one that happens all the time is when you actually think the worst. Okay, and then you've got the mind reading ant, which presupposes that it can read the minds of others and know what they are really thinking. So you might be an engagement at work or some event, and you have a situation where you think, oh my God, the boss gave me a funny look. I think I'm going to be fired in the morning. That's the mind reading ant. Okay, so this is what I do, because this is what this is about, how I harness the power of positive thinking. I have a process for myself, and it starts just as I'm about to go to sleep, and I write down 3 things that I am truly grateful for. Psychologically, I then wake up the next morning in a good mood. It's just the way that it works. So I write a journal, yeah, and I write my targets for the day in this journal when I'm having my first coffee in the morning. And then I set about my actions for the day, and I write down things like my targets. I write down everything that I'm going to do. There's no white space in my journal. So if I start my day at 8, I'm having a shower, then I'm having breakfast, then I'm doing some work, I might be reading the paper, whatever it is, I make sure that I've given it time. And that means that I don't procrastinate and go over time and spend longer on things. If I have to spend longer on things, then I'll move it to another part of the day. It really isn't a problem. Greetings, how I greet people and how I respond to greetings, I make it real. So somebody says hi to me, I have a specific thing that I respond. Somebody says to me, hi Reg, how are you doing? There is a specific way that I respond, because you'll know as well as I do that when you go anywhere and somebody says, oh, hi Jane, how are you? You say, I'm all right, thanks, you? And they say, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Then you walk on. You didn't learn anything, and it was just an automatic response. You probably didn't realize you're saying it. But if you say something totally different, it throws people and makes them stand back. I'm not going to say what I say because I don't want people to nick it. I recognize good things that happen during the day, no matter how small, and I make a note of it, because I can use that later on if it's a good thing that I can be grateful for. I identify wins for the day, something that I could brag about in my journal, because in my journal there's a bit for bragging. So if something really good that I did in the day is something that I can write down, then I'll write it down. And it helps you to recognize these things, you know. I say I try to do one thing that I love every day, and there's lots of things that I love to do. But if they're, if I'm in all day because it's a bit of a lousy day or I'm really, really busy, I also make sure that I go out and walk. I go out and I walk. I set my watch in for the steps and the exercise, and I just go and exercise because exercising, as you'll find out later on, makes you feel good. But I love to walk. Put my earphones in and listen to music or a book or something, and then I just walk. So I love doing that every day. And if you do something you love every day, it makes you feel good. Always smile. Always smile. And try to add value to someone else's day. And that's called serving. Smiling, I promise you, is very, very addictive. You smile at somebody, they will smile back. It makes you feel good and it makes them feel good. And end the day by checking, I end the day by checking what I've done and what I've achieved and what I've set out to do. And then I write down, like I did at the beginning of the day, 3 things that I am grateful for. Okay, that's what I do to harness the power. And this is some stuff that can perhaps help you, okay? Now, I've mentioned how you can work with the brain. The brain has 2 states. It has the mind state, which is related to your emotional being, your erratic side. And you've got the brain state, which is the chemical composition of the brain. And this is what we're going to talk about now. The chemical composition of the brain. And listen, I'm not going to bore you with the detail, but it's all to do with neurons firing to trigger mindset. It's a machine. And there are 5 brain waves. And you've got the gamma. I know you've heard all this stuff or you've seen it online, but the 5 brain waves are the root of our thoughts, of our emotion and our behavior. And it's the communication between the neurons, as I said just now. But you've got the gamma, which is the right brain, and it's all to do with the creative side and your adaptability. You've got the delta wave, which is the slowest wave. And the reason that it's slow is because it's responsible for your deep REM sleep, your rapid eye movement sleep. And you have to have rapid eye movement sleep or you die. Otherwise you go insane and then you die. So that's why you have to have a really good sleep. You have the alpha wave, which is fixed on being calm and being focused, and it's active during things like meditation or relaxation, which is why people go to these kind of camps. You've got the beta wave, which is the most active wave that you have, and it's designed to help you with things like movement, helps you with stress and anxiety and hyperactivity. And then you've got the theta wave, which is, or the theta wave, I've never know how to pronounce that, but that's to do with your creative side and your creative side. And that's why you do things like daydreaming, and you do that when you're in your deep sleep, which is what we talked about, your delta wave. Okay, so in order to enhance the hormones or those brain chemicals, there are things that you have to do, and I'll tell you about the things that you can do to help them. But the 4 main brain chemicals are dopamine. I'm sure you've heard all of these before in your travels, but the brain chemicals are there to elevate your state for the long term, and it's one of the most transformative things that you can do for yourself. So dopamine makes you take action. It helps you to become excited about new projects that you're taking on. Okay, you've got serotonin, which triggers depression and anxiety, and serotonin has a direct connection or correlation with the actual mood that you're in. You've got the endorphins, which I mentioned just now about exercise and everything. It's your happy hormone, and it's released during pain or stress. You get that happy high when you work out, like when you ride a bike or you're in the gym or you're on the running machine or you've done weights, whatever it is. Any kind of high workout will release those endorphins, and that's why they call it the happy hormone. You feel good afterwards. And then you've got oxytocin, which is the hug hormone. The hug hormone is like released within 30 seconds of a hug, or when you're with loved ones or with somebody that you really, really, really trust. Okay, so in order to help you to increase the brain chemicals or those hormones, if you're not getting enough of them and you want to improve any area of those 4 areas, you can increase those levels by eating enough protein. Make sure you get enough protein. I'm not going to say whether or not you should or should not eat meat. That's entirely up to you, but do some work and understand where you can get the best proteins that you want to take that fit in with your dietary needs. But eat as much protein as you can possibly get, eat enough protein. The second one I mentioned just now was exercise. So exercise, listen, some of us can't get out and go for a run. Some people don't have a bike because obviously they might not live somewhere where they can have a bike, or there's lots and lots of reasons why you can't do things. I get that. But what can you do? Think of the things that you can do and get yourself a regime of exercise, because that will make your mood improve, I promise. Avoid sugar and carbs. Now, I can't avoid sugar and I can't avoid carbs. I love my sugar and I need carbs. It's like fire to the furnace for me. So I know a lot of people can, they do lots of diets, but avoid sugar and carbs. Learn to manage stress. I'm going to do a seminar workshop on that specific subject because it is absolutely huge, and you couldn't just use it as a line. But there are ways that you can manage your stress, and there's lots of different types of stress that people go through. But if you can manage some of your stress, it will increase your hormone levels. Consume healthy fats. Now, again, in your diet, you'll know what kind of food you can and can't eat. But if you can do a little bit of work, spend a few minutes online and understanding what healthy fats are, and then making sure that you consume those healthy fats will actually help you in the long run. And avoid over and under eating. There's obvious reasons for that. Because if you overeat, then all of the blood's going to go to your stomach to process the food in the afternoon when you're supposed to be working, which means the blood's not running around the brain, etc., etc., etc. And undereating does the same thing because you don't have the energy to do the work that you're supposed to do, etc. So try to find the balance and help with those actual levels. Green tea is apparently really, really good. I used to drink green tea, but I had to have it with lemon, Lipton's or something like that, because green tea on its own is just nasty. But I know lots of people that love these infusing teas, but green tea is one of the best ones. And for you people out there that like fish, eat fatty fish often. So if you can eat fatty fish often, then that will help you. So that will help you with the 4 chemical areas that I mentioned. And lastly, not leastly, I know this is the last slide I want to show, but I just want to give you a couple of things that might be able to help here. I said before, smile and be thankful, because a lot of what you experience in life depends on what you pay attention to. And that's why I said earlier on about looking at the stuff, looking at the good things that happen, because each day some things will go right and some things will go wrong. And if you pay more attention to the things that go right and dwell on those actual things, you'll experience way more happiness. I said it earlier on, smile and greet people. Honestly, it's contagious, and you'll instantly begin to feel a difference inside of you. And then take some time to pause throughout the day to think about things that you are really grateful for. I mentioned just now about being 3 things that I'm grateful for in the mornings and 3 things that I'm grateful for in the evenings. And the more you practice gratitude, the better you'll feel about life and about yourself. And this one's really, really important. I think you should make sure that you try to surround yourself with positive people. The reason I say that is most people who grow and climb to incredible heights of accomplishment and stuff in their lives do so because they surround themselves with positive and encouraging people. And it's hard to have a positive outlook when everyone around you is complaining all of the time. Okay, so smile, be grateful, look at the things that you're grateful for, and surround yourself with positive people in the nicest possible way. Just ease out the people that harm your calm, as they say. Okay, I hope that you found this beneficial. You can contact me at info@improvingperformance.co.uk, and you can go to my website, which is www.improvingperformance.co.uk, to find all of the blogs and all of the other good stuff that we provide here at Improving Performance. If you want to have a call with me, I'm not going to say free of charge. I absorb the cost, but there's no obligation to you. You can just contact me at improvingperformancecalendar.as.me. Go to that site and just click and book a time when you can have a conversation with me, and I can see what we can do if we can work together. This is not a sales pitch like I normally do with my webinars. This is a standalone subject. And you can see all of my historic videos again on the Improving Performance site, but if you're a YouTube user, go ahead, look me up, Reg Goslin or Improving Performance, and then you'll see the videos that I pulled together there. And I have a program that is running called Focused Action Results, and that is for people that want immediate results and they want it in the short term. So you can have a look there, improvingperformance.co.uk/generation/X-career-advance and development/focused action results. Listen, if it's too much for you to write down there, pause the screen and write it down, or just drop me an email at info@improvingperformance.co.uk and I will be happy to talk you through. Thank you very much for taking the time. I know it's about 25 minutes, but thank you, and I will speak to you soon.